I have a nice method for weathering, which is to take, and we'll just do it on our base paint here. So take your base paint and make a copy, and then go to your levels and adjust it to whatever you want to be the base metal underneath. So for instance, I'm going to do that to it. I want it to get brighter underneath. Whoops. I guess I hit cancel instead of OK. And I want to change its color. So I want to make it less saturated. And I want it to go a little more, let's see, I want it to go a little bit more blue. A little less saturation. Okay, so that's going to be my base metallic look. Let's go even a little bit brighter with it. Okay, that's my metal, basically, that's underneath my paint. So then you throw a layer mask on top, and you go here and you invert it. So Command I, so select your layer mask, invert, and now it has no effect. So then what you do is you come in here and you start to paint wherever you want to chip away the paint. Okay, and I'm only going to do the red here. I'm not going to go and do all these edges, but just to give you a little quick demo of the way we're going to use layers and layering strategy and layer masks to do our weathering. So I want to paint white, okay, into any area that I want to take off the paint. And so what you do is you just start to pull back. And so I'm just going to take this area, like maybe this panel opens, or this is super old through here. Okay, and we can always readjust our colors of the base metal in a minute. Let's go really chip it off here. Okay, so maybe there's some wear and tear on that. This thing's gotten all beat up. And we'll just do a couple edges. I'm not going to go all the way around it, meaning the whole thing. Just go through here a bit. Okay, so I got something like that. And then, you know, somebody dropped a wrench here, something, get some impact. All right, so that's how I would chip it off. Now, it's not quite done yet. Now you can always readjust it, right? So you can go back to your levels here. Sorry, go back to your layer, and you can start playing. I want to crunch those values down even more, make that metal even brighter underneath my paint. Okay, and now what I can do is I need primer. So if I want to add primer underneath my base paint, I need a layer in between the two. So the way you can do this is I like to load the selection of my layer mask that I just made. So you hold down your command key and click in your layer mask. Okay, and now I've selected all those chips. And I'm going to go back to my metallic red. Okay, and you could pull it out of there actually. You could take it out of the metal just as easily. I guess we could just go there. Let's go here. Doesn't matter. Command J, which is new layer via copy. So I've hit Command J. I've got a new layer. I'm actually going to put it on top of this, and I'm going to shift the color so you can see. There we go. So all I did was use the mask of the selection came from the layer mask. I pulled it out, put it on top, and now I'm going to shift its color to what I want the primer to be for this vehicle. So let's say it had some weird I'll do an odd color so we can see it. I'll do this color. Yeah, let's just do something like greenish gray, and let's just lighten it up a tick, something like that. I don't think you would paint complements on top. You wouldn't paint red over this greenish gray, but it'll work well for our purposes. All right, let's say we do with that. Now, what you want to do with this is put a layer mask on top of that. Okay, and what you want to do is start hiding parts of that. So let's say that I have this, I'll paint black into it, and then I'll start to hide parts of it. So what you can do, back to my brush, and come inside here, and wherever it's going to be more worn off, okay, just paint in your layer mask. And what you'll see is I'm getting a little edge that's left over here. And you can do it as much or as little as you like. Like through here, it could just have like a little light texture that's gone down to the metal, and all the rest could be the primer paint. This also has the grain in it because this is a copy of my metal flake layer, so maybe I should have pulled this metal off of my base paint layer instead of my metallic one. Just because if I didn't want the grain in it. So that's about it for the 2 layers. So I really like doing that 2-layer strategy to take out. So you can leave as much paint as you like between, or you can clean it all out and leave just a little lip, or you can leave nothing. So total personal preference. And you can also change the strength of those things. So that would be just our primer underneath, and then we're showing the paint underneath that. Sorry, the metal. And of course there's dirt and rust and all that sort of stuff. We'll get to that. I'm thinking my metal's maybe just a little bit, I think my metal's actually a little too grainy there, maybe. So that's what I was saying, I should have taken it out of the base paint. So maybe we can just go to filter, blur, and put a little Gaussian blur on that. Oh, I take it back, because it has it. I'm thinking, let's see, I wonder if I can do it that way. Filter, blur. Yeah, because I should be able to blur it underneath without losing my edge. So I think, in fact, I had those linked. Maybe that's why it wasn't working. So here I'm just softening to get rid of a little bit of that grain under there. You can just see in my preview window how grainy it is. So you can just knock that back a bit. It's only very subtle. Okay, so that's some of the sort of thing we're going to do in the coming lessons when we start working into the final. And still, but you know, it's now weathering, but it still has to do with, you know, doing nice renderings of glossy shapes, because glossy shapes do get old, and then they're no longer so perfect. And that's, of course, over exaggerated, but you get the point for doing this layer stacking. I think it works fairly well. If you wanted to do the 5, you know, I would just probably flatten down that whole thing and you know, adjust my layer mask. This you'd probably, you know, I would just go to this guy actually. If I was going to do the number 5, I would just do a layer mask on top, and I would just start chipping away the edges, like this was either painted or, you know, worn off the leading edge a little bit more. It's got some chips through it, things like that, and then a lot right through here. Okay, and then showing through there would be my metal. So I'd go back to my metal one and start to take that down as well. So you just go back to your metal here and your layer mask, paint white, and now there's some metal showing through there. And of course we'd have to go back and modify our green. Okay, so hope that makes some sense. And there's our semi-gloss with chipped paint.